Hello, we're back for a community Q&A for the Lightleaders and FRUITFIT. So now there's a bit of a change of brand because we've been talking so much about being fit on fruits and let's say high raw vegan diet. And that's you, Josh Geiger. We've done a podcast already together, and now you're back for this community Q&A. Just before we get started, we have these calls once every 2 weeks at the moment where the community members of FRUITFIT can ask questions to a special guest like you, Josh. So, Josh, we did a podcast together. People watching the recording, if you're interested in more of an introduction and the discussion you and I have had already, they can watch that episode. And this is kind of a follow-up with Q&As. So I'd love to still do a little recap, if people really want to watch this first, of what you stand for, especially when it comes to your diet and the exercise you're doing. And if you can try to put that in 3 or 4 minutes, and then we can build on that with the questions.
Yeah, for sure, man. Once again, it's an honor to be here, communing with like-minded people like yourself. And just stoked to be here and share the space. And it's always fun to share my story and kind of some of the gems that I've gleaned along the way. So yeah, I went plant-based in 2008, 2007, 2008. I went fully raw overnight, and I did a lot of things right. I did some things wrong that kind of left me low energy. I wasn't doing enough emphasis on the fruits and things like that. I was doing too much emphasis on raw vegetables. And so I eventually shifted into more of like a macrobiotic style of diet where I was eating a lot of cooked grains, cooked beans, cooked vegetables, some salad, some fruit, nuts and seeds and stuff. And I was doing a lot right with that. Later on, I learned more of the science behind that, but it was really so much had to do with keeping the fat at around 20% or below for optimal carbohydrate metabolism. And so for years, me and my family rocked out on a macrobiotic diet, like I just described, which was very carb centric. And, I've had, during that time, I've had 5 children. We've raised them all plant-based. And then within the last 5 years or so, we went fully raw again. We did that for about 4 years. And then just due to trying to like find the balance between getting enough vegetables in the kids, not spending a shit ton of time in the kitchen, dehydrating stuff, like in order to try and provide enough richness and satiation and satisfaction and nutrition for the children and things, we have found a nice balance at about 80% raw, high fruit, still high carb. We do mostly fruit, and the kids will do salads and stuff throughout the day. And then at dinner time, we have done whole grains, usually millet and quinoa, some beans, some soups, wakame miso soup and stuff, vegetable soups. But more over the last 2 months, we've actually been doing, the only cooked starches we've been doing have been sweet potatoes and potatoes. And then otherwise, it's just some cooked vegetables at night. So we're like, I'm doing fruit, and for the last 6 months or so, I've been doing fruit all day, lunch and breakfast. I like to put a little spirulina on there, a little bee pollen on there. I feel totally satiated with that. And then at nighttime, do some sweet potato, some cooked veggies, etc. And what I find to be like the most important aspect for just like using those carbohydrates as rocket fuel is keeping the fat at that nice low range, which is moderate to low. I think the 20, like for a very sensitive individual, like a diabetic, 15 to 10% is optimal. But for somebody who has a little bit more flexibility in their system, 20% is a nice goal where you get plenty of richness from nuts, seeds, avocados, etc. But you're still able to utilize carbohydrates and metabolize them super well. And so that's the diet side of thing, right? You asked me to tell about what I do with the fitness. So then otherwise, the fitness is just I do about less than 2 hours of calisthenics per week. I do 3 sessions per week with a rest day in between, and I do 30 to 40 minutes usually 3 rounds of push-ups, pull-ups, squats in different variations of those 3 movements. So yeah, I do like, in order to really get like a pretty much full body workout is what I do every workout. And so I teach to and promote to go to exhaustion with each movement. So it's like I call it low volume, high intensity. So every workout I do and every exercise that I do, I'm basically pushing to the point where I can't do another repetition. And then I go to the next movement. So I'm resting. If I'm doing push-ups, then I'll go all the way to exhaustion with the push-ups. Then I'll start pull-ups. While I'm doing pull-ups, I'm resting the muscles of the push-ups work. Then I go to squats. So I'm resting the push-ups and the pull-up muscles while I'm doing the squats. And then I repeat the push-ups again. So the goal, because I have 5 children, I work 50 hours as a builder. I have other passions like music. I get up at 4 a.m. and I'm also doing a fitness business and stuff. Everything about what I do is about maximizing my time, and with the intention to stay energized, keep my metabolism high, keep my health high for my family, for my career, and as a byproduct, also build a cool ninja physique.
Cool. Thanks, Josh. I'd love to start with the first question before I open it, because I think I asked you a little bit in private, but that's something I'm really interested in, which is for working out and building muscle, we want to work them out, but we also want to recover them well. So my question to you is, do you feel it's okay to work them out if they're potentially sore? Because personally, if I go hard until failure on my push-ups, 48 hours later, they might still be sore. And some people might think that then working them hard again could limit the growth actually that happens during recovery.
So my perspective on that is for one, that I do, it's kind of like a multifaceted sort of answer. For one, I do my exercises and my workouts for many other health benefits and positive effects than just muscle growth. It increases my dopamine in a healthy way to where I feel satiated by the actual behavior. I feel it stimulates my endocrine, my testosterone. It stimulates and balances the hormones. It stimulates the lymphatic system. It also strengthens ligaments and tendons and creates bone density and all these other really cool things. And so I like, even if I'm a little sore, to still do a workout every other day, basically. And then usually, because I'm at home on the weekends with the family, I skip 2 days, Saturday, Sunday anyways. Sometimes 3 days. I'm not like strict by any means of how much I work out. I like to work out. So when I have time, if I'm like really sore, I'll actually just do a different type of workout where I'll just like focus on, like, I never can get enough squats, basically. The squats are, with calisthenics, your legs are so resilient, so strong that you can always do a little more squats, a little more core, etc. But in regards to just like working out when your muscles are still sore, I kind of like envision my muscles as like a meter. Like if this is fully recovered and over here is fully exhausted, day 1, your muscles are recovering. Day 2, your muscles are recovering. Maybe you're at 75% by the time you come back around to the next workout. I find that that's like a 75%. I'm good to go, and I'm stoked to work out. And all I can promote is my own physique, right? By doing this, by kind of going along with this philosophy, I, with less than 2 hours per week, eating a whole food plant-based diet, usually 500 calories below what's recommended for my weight and my age and everything, because and I'm not promoting people to not eat enough calories. I'm just saying this is what I do. That I balance out at about 165 pounds, 75 kilos or so. And I work out 3 days a week, in whether or not I'm a little bit sore or not. and a day in between tends to feel really good and sufficient for recovery.
Is it okay if I go? Okay. So this is kind of a personal question, as in, I'll explain something that happened to me recently and then ask for your advice on it. So I eat mostly fruit, and then I do have it's like salads, and sometimes I do have some cooked vegan meals. And I've been vegan for 23 years, but raw more like 5-ish. And I recently, because this is the first time this has happened, I recently went on a 4-day couples retreat with my wife, and she and they didn't have the foods for me. So I completely changed my diet for 4 days to where I was eating like even tofu and tempeh, and I don't eat that stuff. And I was waking up with bags under my eyes. My digestion was all off. A lot of stuff was all off. What do you, if like I come to you as a client, and what would you tell me to do to, because I'm still experiencing, it's been about a week and a half later, I'm still experiencing this bloating in my eyes and the bags in my eyes. What would you tell me to do? Would you just say like, do a fast? What would you recommend?
So what those bags below the eyes in Chinese medicine are correlated with kidney, and kidneys have to deal with excess protein. So if you're doing like some tempeh and tofu and some like soy products that you don't normally digest, it could be that you had an extra protein load. Did they cook them with oil or anything like that? Was it like more greasy than you're used to or anything like that?
Yeah, I could tell the oil was probably canola, something I definitely don't do.
So probably you're just because you're so clean and like you've been eating so clean for such a long time, your organs probably, your limited of organs probably recognized the excess protein and the excess fat as, like we got to get this out. And so they felt a burden and they had a reaction. And so that's what you're probably seeing in the swelling in your eyes and stuff. Also, because you haven't eaten those foods in a long time, you probably don't have the microbiome that's optimized for digesting those things, because that's just basically, that's how the microbiome works, is like you create the environment and those are the populations that flourish in the gut. And so then we bring in something new, we don't do so well with it, we have some digestive distress, our limited organs are distressed, they reflect that in our face, especially the more clean that we are. And so yeah, then the recommendation I would say is, I think that you'll recover naturally just being you're already fasting from what did the thing. If you wanted to speed it up, a 2 to 3 day water fast is like one of the most powerful things for resetting anything.
Thank you. I actually didn't even think of the water fast. That's actually what I'll do. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome, man.
Hi, Josh. Tell
Hey,
me,
man.
why did you choose calisthenics instead of maybe weight training or some other sports? What's the main reason? And yeah, why Cali and not weights?
So there's actually a lot of reasons to that answer. The main reason why I first went into calisthenics, because I actually grew up lifting weights. I grew up lifting weights. I was in athletics growing up, lifting weights. I was in like the lower weight class. And whenever I got married, I was about 23 years old. This is around 2010. I was studying. I went to school for horticulture. I got a degree in plant and soil sciences, which is also fun to talk about because I did my research papers and my theses on dietary choice and planetary sustainability. So that's another topic. But during that time, I was doing online college, and I was so like bored. I'm a pretty hyperactive guy. I was so bored that the way I was able to make that bearable was every minutes of study, another 30 minutes I would do squats, and then another 30 minutes I would get to where I think that I actually assimilated, was starting to develop my physique and you know, feel better. So the main answer to that was accessibility. I could do it anytime, any place, in my room, no problem. And then over time, it developed, you know, accessibility was always a big thing because I've been, you know, like I said, I've had 5 kids in basically 12 years and have worked 40 to 50 hours nonstop and have lived oftentimes in nature, like kind of in rural areas. My favorite thing to do is to be barefoot in the sunlight with my shirt off, not under fluorescent lights, and just out in nature. And so calisthenics, trail running, and all of that just kind of go together like this. And so it's just been a not only strength building and health affirming behavior, but also a therapeutic and enjoyable integration into my life. I think you're muted.
Easy, you're muted.
Thanks, Josh. Great answer. I just want to say that I also love calisthenics, and by the way, mainly of these reasons that you brought up.
Yeah.
Another question. You said that you have 5 kids, so it's an easy question. So the kids always eat the same as you and your wife. Is that true? Always. The same
well, they
regime.
tend to like pretty much they tend to like to eat a little bit more food. They tend to like a little more
Hey, sorry, Josh, but you're cut.
like little more nuts and seeds, and they're on their plate. They tend to like they tend to how am I doing?
It's not just
the signal is bad.
yeah.
For
Am I right, or am I having trouble?
No, your connection's like a little bit cutting, so sometimes a bit hard to understand.
now it is okay, but
Okay.
if you repeat last 4 sentences.
Yeah, sure. So that I was just saying that the children and children tend towards more richness. And so during the day, whenever I would have a cooked lunch type of meal where they'll cook and things like that. So they eat the same foods that we eat, but they will tend towards Are we good? Am I breaking up for y'all?
Yeah, it was breaking up
so much. Usually I'm okay
it's a little difficult, yeah, to understand everything. But okay. Let's go to the next question. Maybe I didn't heard, but when you talk about the calories, how much calories do you take daily? If you check this.
Yeah, so I've been tracking on Chronometer recently in order to help give my clients some more context of where I'm at, and I've done this in the past as well. And what I find is that I actually take in around 2,000 calories most days. Yeah, and so like based upon just if I were at my weight and sedentary, it would say that I'm supposed to be around 2,400. And if I'm what it said, like according to medical stuff, it says that somebody my weight, my size, and my activity level is around 2,800. So I think that I think that there's a few different factors to this. I think that based upon conventional standards, this is also, most people on conventional Western diets are getting 30 to 40% of their amount of carbohydrates. And so I think that they're not actually utilizing the carbohydrates very well. And so their systems are not very efficient in general. And so they require a higher caloric input. With cleansing and fasting, having been pretty clean for 15 years, having done parasite detox, really emphasizing and focusing a lot of my carbohydrate on fruit, which is just like so efficient and easy to digest, being the fructose and everything. And then also being barefoot in the sun 90% of the time, and also having somewhat of a pranic orientation with nature, and just like really taking in the enjoyment of my family, the enjoyment of things that are nice. Like I have plenty of stress. I have more stress than most people, but just being oriented in that kind of pranic awareness, I think actually all contributes to me requiring less calories. And I eat to satiation. Like I don't eat, it's not like I'm trying to be breatharian. I'm trying to like fast and things. I've actually experimented with that years and years ago. I eat till satiation, and this is just where I land.
Thank you. Thank you. I must say that I eat around 1,500 and
yeah,
2,000 calories, not more, not more.
Yeah.
And it's I think it's a little bit difficult for me when you choose fruits and you try to, like Alex, you said that you take around 3,000 calories per day, and for me it's a bit a problem, because so much fruits, it's not easy for me. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's interesting, the calorie thing, you know. You have like the more mainstream that's like, okay, you want to get more muscle, you need to eat the calories, and then there's the whole question of absorption, right? And how you can utilize more, actually don't eat that much. So I think where I'm at, like I just eat. I'm actually pretty hungry and love the fruit, so I eat and it works pretty well and don't gain much fat from it. But it's not a goal. If tomorrow I start feeling really good with 2,000 calories, I won't force myself. I'll just do that. And if I keep looking like Josh and all that, I think it's perfect. I mean, obviously, being on the diet for so long, you know, I think makes a difference. For example, for me, even though I did a 2-week water fast, even though I did a few like 10-day juice fasts, even though I've been like high raw for 2.5 years, and for like mainly vegan for like 5-6 years, you know, there's still like, you know, if I have like 10-15 years of eating meat and 5 years of smoking and 5 years of drinking a lot, still need to be a little bit patient, I guess.
Indeed. You know, there's so much, and there's actually so much more to calorie utilization than meets the eye. If you think about that, everything like that's stored in our subconscious mind, everything that's actually ever happened to us that was not resolved to some extent, we call that like a trauma loop. It stays in the subconscious mind, and it stays going like this, taking a certain amount of energy. And what it does is it's running on loop, so that anything in the present moment that reminds you of that loop brings that into the forefront. It brings you into the actual physical response that you had during the time of the official trauma. And it brings you right back into the physiological response and all of that. And in the protection program that was created around that original trauma, which oftentimes was created by a child, which is somehow fight, flight, or freeze in some kind of form of those three, it comes online. And that's why we start behaving in these ways that are annoying and disruptive to our relationships. And it's hard to get back in the frontal lobe and stuff. But all that to say is that we all have these things that are running on autopilot. And so when you start to actually have the conversation about chronic living, and start to have the conversation about the idea of needing less and less calories. Part of that is trauma resolution. Part of that is resolving these things, these anxieties, these voices that are chattering at us. Part of this is obviously reducing our stress over time, which is a very stressful time to be in. Part of that's going to be, restoring the environment so that we have more pure air, more intact ecosystem where the charge and energy is circulating in a more healthy way. But all that to say, this is a conversation in its own, is that this idea of caloric requirement is far more nuanced than the mainstream would put it.
So you say you get up at 4 a.m. What do you do when you get up at 4 a.m.? Are you doing some type of like breathing techniques or morning ritual routine, anything like that?
So I have been in and out of sadhanas for years in the past. And 4 a.m. was basically my only kind of alone time for self-care and that sort of thing. Because early on in my relationship, my marriage, and having children, I tried to stay up later in order to have self-care time. But then what would happen is I'd sleep in, then the kids would wake up, I'm behind the day, everything's kind of, it doesn't work. It's not the optimal, it's not healthy for my family. So I finally started putting it on the front end of the day, where I go to bed with all the children and everything, and I would wake up at 4 a.m. I would do an hour of yoga, meditation, breath work, and that was and maybe playing some guitar or something like that. That was very nourishing, a great season in my life. And during those periods, I remember every time thinking, how could I go without this? Like this is so good. And it was so motivating. I would get up at 4 just to do that. It was super nourishing. Now I have so much on my plate and so much that's like driving me. I'm getting up at 4 a.m. I'm starting to get everything ready for the family at 4 a.m., meaning I'm getting some food prepped. I'm getting some salad prepped. I'm getting my wife, she's been ill with some stuff going on. I've been getting her medicine ready. And then at 5 a.m., I start doing coaching calls and live workouts and weekly group calls for my group. And that's pretty much 5 days a week. At 5 a.m., I start doing the fitness business stuff. By about 6, I'm wrapping that stuff up, and I'm getting on to finishing up, getting ready for my own day, like getting some fruit packed, getting some water packed and everything. And then I'm getting ready to go to my building job. So, and that I say a job, it's really a building project and an excellent career, like amazing career that's culminated to this point, doing a type of building. It's called biologic building. And I'm driving out, building these domes all day in the sun, and then coming back around 5, doing dinner with the family, and usually getting to bed by 10.
Can you talk more about those bio buildings right now? We're finishing up a project. We're building a home in Uluwatu, and I wanted to do domes. So we have all these we didn't want to take out the trees and the plants and all that stuff as much as we could keep. So we kind of built these hexagon homes or structures, 4 of them around our home, or around our land. But we asked the architect to do domes, but he says he couldn't. And so I'm very interested now in these domes that you're talking about. Can you explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. I'll do just like a quick 3-minute spiel on those. And I just put the website in the chat, www.bioarc.co. And that's where you'll see actually a bunch of the catalog and everything of the type of buildings that we're doing. And then I'll share also the Facebook group, and also my Instagram has, I've got a building page where you can see the actual project we're working on right now. And it's 8 domes near Canggu. And so the principle and the philosophy is that we can choose based upon site selection, meaning we do energetic analysis of the land. We have dowsers and also electrical equipment that are done independently that then corroborate power spots and magnetic ley lines and vortices. Then we So we choose the sites in that way. Then we, with proper material selection, which are going to be high dielectric materials, which means materials that are able to hold and resonate charge like a cloud, rather than shooting them and sending them like metal will do, like a conductor. So with the proper material selection, which is a combination of, I don't know if you've ever looked into orgone or Reich technologies and stuff, they create capacitance through conductor, insulator, and that's basically what a capacitor is. So with proper material selection, with proper site selection, and then with natural geometries, the natural geometries fundamentally being golden mean, we're able to create spaces that resonate with Schumann harmonics and that actually accumulate charge within the interior of the space. And so we get readings inside, electrical readings inside the domes that are similar to that you would find in a healthy forest, meaning that if you take a meter, you will actually see Schumann harmonics resonate and ring within the space. And then we can also take a reading that shows an accumulation of charge in the interior of the space in comparison to outside of the space. And then to corroborate that that is biologically beneficial, we then are able to germinate seeds more efficiently inside the dome than outside of the dome. So it's a developing technology. Basically, we're creating capacitance, capacitive structures, and we're building 8 of those right now in Canggu, and that's our current project. And you can see some pictures on the Instagram and stuff like that.
That's absolutely amazing. And I just looked at your website, and I did actually contact you, and I think I did speak to you, but you were too busy with your projects. So, but next I have some more land that I would like to that I'd like to probably use you later on down the road.
Okay, amazing. You probably talked to one. You probably talked to one if you went through the website. Yeah, cool, man. So yeah, awesome, man. Get back in touch, and we're actually culminating that project in the next couple months, so could be nice timing to have a conversation.
Oh, that'd be awesome. That's what I would love. That's what I wanted to live. That's fantastic. Thanks for creating those.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, like when I said job, I was like, it's not a job. It's like the culmination of a decade of research. My path was I got into conventional building, and then got into natural building. I built multiple straw bale, clay plaster, timber frame homes in California. And then from that, I was already connected with Juan for about 10 years while he was in here building the New Earth communities in Akasha restaurant and stuff. And then I got in touch with him. He's got this extensive background in amazing architecture and a little bit of experience with building. And then I've got experience in architecture, but extensive experience in building. And we came together, and this is our debut project together. And we have the same background, the same mentors, Dan Winter, Victor Schauberger. And so it's been a pretty amazing synergy.
That's nice. And I wanted to add also, I remember, so Brandon, we did an episode with him where he shared about he was getting basically insight from a woman who was downloading after a near-death experience, if I'm correct. And part of it I asked you about, it was about getting buildings made of mushrooms, right? Was that correct, Brandon?
Yes, she had a near-death experience, and she was told in the future there'll be buildings that have like its own microbiome in it and its own energetics, and some of these buildings would be made out of mushrooms. And I was just like, mushrooms, and I was thinking like Smurfs. That sounds really dumb. But then it was more about the walls, and that they were made out of this type of mushroom. And it's like, I think it's Stanford that actually has a prototype of it, and it looks like just a basic wall, and it's as hard as a wall, but it's anti-fungal, anti-mold, anti all this stuff. But so that's kind of where, because I'm not in contact with this lady anymore. I was friends with her for 20 years, but we're not in contact anymore, so I can't really ask if this is what you were talking about. So anyway, I thought that was pretty interesting.
Well, synchronistically, the way I got into building was, okay, so my journey was that I got a degree in horticulture, got my master's in environmental sustainability, got into mycology through Paul Stamets and reading his books and stuff. I started a mushroom business in North Carolina where I built my own lab and was growing oyster mushrooms, maitake, shiitake, reishi, lion's mane, turkey tail, some other neat ones. And I had to, ironically, we ended up having black mold at the house where I had built that mushroom business. And so we had to move out of that house, and I basically had to leave everything I built. But I started building, so I maintained my building career after that. I ended up actually building 4 labs for other clients. And I got this experience of being a mycologist for 3 years. And part of a big inspiration of mine is to actually figure out how to make myco blocks, like mycological building materials. And so what you're actually describing is actually pretty feasible. The question is how to do it and how long the lifespan is, because basically what mushrooms do is they eat the substrate. Eventually they eat the wood until it's just fluffy carbon and water. They just turn everything back into soil, basically. But something that can be done is you can run the mycelium across a substrate, like some sort of woody product. And then if we're able to go ahead and then pump some sort of hardening material, like a resinous material, through that mycelial network, and then it hardened. Well, the mycelium, each strand of mycelium can hold more than 300 times its own weight. So it's many more times stronger than steel, spider web, all these other things. And so it's an incredibly powerful mesh tensile material. So then if you're able to put a compressive material within that, such as a resin or something, then you could create an incredibly light, incredibly strong type of block. So there's definitely something to mycological building.
Then I have another question that I'm sorry. I'll limit my question so everybody else can speak. But I have for the design of a home, like where you're supposed to sleep. I've heard a couple things. I believe the Balinese think that you should be laying your head toward the east, or maybe it's the west, I forget. But I was always taught spiritually growing up, and even from my near-death experience friend, that it's to the north, and that's best for dreaming, best for health, best for all that stuff. Do you have any insights into that?
I know that it's kind of like tuning a radio. It's like, if you want to be in a better dreaming state, then you're going to want to point this direction. If you're going to want to be getting more physically restful sleep, then you may want to orient in a different direction. Feng Shui has its own opinion. Like you said, the Balinese have their own opinion. I know that there's something to it, but I have not put much emphasis on that in my own life right now. And that has a lot to do with the fact that we've been renting spaces. We haven't actually gotten to that season of our life where we've bought our own space and we've gone into the full-on feng shui orientation of the building and all that. So I don't have any real practical advice about it, other than I think that it's legit. It just it just depends on figuring out exactly what you're looking for and getting the right wisdom on it.
Yeah, actually on this, it's interesting. I think Sadhguru is said kind of the opposite. I was to the south because the North Pole is like pulling, and that's where the continents go up. And then if you sleep with your head to the north, then it's like pulling more the blood. So it's like the inverse of what gravity does usually. So it's like if you sleep with your head to the south, more in line with that. I'm not exactly sure, but yeah, I haven't seen big differences also with my experiment. And then there's a book, Reality Transurfing. I think in this one they say north also. So yeah, it's been interesting. But actually that relates to the energetics and how the energetics affect the body. And I think in our health and fitness environment, it's really interesting to see the theories. There are a lot in spiritual communities. Can be where we sleep. It can be, if you shave your head, you're going to lose your antennas and things like this, where it's like there are theories, but then they're not always very obvious when you try them for yourself. Well, sometimes things like food, it's like, okay, what Brandon's experience was like, okay, I ate this, I felt bad. So I'm interested if you have any insights on what specific energetics like you really feel have an impact. So you really felt, oh, okay, when I don't sleep to the east, I wake up and I really don't feel good. And what are the really important things in terms of energetics that will impact our health and fitness?
Well, the absolute most visceral one, I would say, is time in nature versus time in city. Like it's just night and day, the difference between going and being in like a city environment or being in a crowded environment or just being in like an unnatural environment. So like in fractal physics, we would call that an unfractal or anti-fractal environment versus a fractal environment. And when we talk about fractals, we're talking about a fractal is something that is self-similar at all scales. And so when we talk about fractal physics, we're talking about the fractal geometry of nature. That's the mother geometry. And if you're in fractality with nature, if you're in resonance with those geometries and frequencies, then your charge is able to propagate, breathe efficiently into nature and vice versa. Whereas when you take, because as natural beings, we actually naturally have that self-similar geometry in our bodies. That's why when we go into nature, we fit into nature like a little petal into a bigger petal of a rose. Whereas when we take our fractal geometries and we take them into a city where the geometries are totally 90 degrees, fragmented, schmelted steel, synthetic, et cetera, there's a measurable decrease in the weak electric field around our body. It gets zapped and it actually gets depleted because that environment is wanting to get fractal and it needs energy to do that. And part of that is going to be it crumbling. So it'll actually take energy from you. That's why it feels like shit to go into a hospital for more than just one reason, but it's because it's smelted steel beams inside of electrosmog, inside of Wi-Fi, inside of synthetic materials and all that. When you go in those places, it actually depletes the energy. But if you go and you sit you're in the ocean and you're in the waves and you're actually in the rhythm of the waves, there's actually a harmonizing effect to what happens to all of your cells. So that's a very visceral one. And then next in line, I would say, is just the comparison of it's been so long since I've done animal products or anything like that. But if you were to like just compare eating living foods versus cooked foods, especially if you're eating like a lot of cooked foods, the energetic difference between that is very visceral as well. The next one is like, I think like water and stuff. I've not had tap water or anything in almost 20 years, it seems like that, but just like that access to like high energetic spring water and gosh, I mean, it's hard. That's a hard one for me to compare. I realize that I don't really have a good control group on that one because I've just been really focusing on having access to good water for so long. But even like the comparison of getting your hydration from spring water that came in a bottle versus eating lots of fruit and getting your hydration, it's totally different. You know, if you're having to drink a lot of water, like you tend to pee a lot more and you tend to not stay as hydrated versus if you're getting that structured water, which is if you imagine how like as a grape grows from a tiny little speck and it grows and it creates this negative pressure that sucks the water into it through the vine, all that water is actually being sucked in these micro spirals, these micro vortexes through every fiber of the plant. And so you get this incredibly powerful, energized packet of perfect food, perfect human food. So that's a pretty cool one too. And then with Kirlian photography, you can actually take a picture of the charge that's held in those living fruits.
So this is a strange question. What would be, since you don't drink much water, and I actually don't drink much water, I get most of my water from fruits. What is the color of your pee, and what should the color of urine be?
Mine is almost always orangey pink. If you know why. Because I do
Dragon fruit.
yeah, because I always
Yeah,
am
dragon
dragon fruit. But it's I think that a healthy color of pee is like light yellow, like not purely clear, but definitely not staunchy. And you know, sometimes whenever I'm out, but I actually don't think it's like super bad for you to have a little bit of a draw in the system and to be out in the, and this is just from my own experience, because sometimes I'll work a 10-hour day in Canggu in the sun, in a, you know, I don't know how many Celsius, 35 degrees Celsius in the sun all day. And I can drink water, I can drink coconut water, I can eat fruit, but there's just so much evaporation and so much heat that I will still pee staunchy after that. And no, I don't feel bad. You know, it feels amazing to have that pull on the system and to feel my body exerted in that way. If I were to go day after day after day after that for a long time, that could feel depleting. So I think as a baseline, I think that like that kind of light yellow, little orange in there from the dragon fruit, but then a little bit of staunchy, you know, I think a little bit of dry fasting is actually healthy. I don't actually promote long-term dry fasting. I think that's too rough on the kidneys and it's just too extreme. But I used to do a type of dry fasting where I would basically, this is when I was more into actually doing fasting about 7 years ago or so. I would eat the last time at dinner, and then I would not eat or drink for about 24 hours after that. And during that day, I would always line it up with a day when we were going to get 5 cubic meters of mulch delivered to our permaculture farm. And during that day, it was usually in the summer or the fall, it was in the season change, it was usually hot, I would unload the entire thing, just listening to an audiobook or something like that, and I wouldn't drink all day. And what that would do is it would do a big pull on the system. It would kick me into ketosis basically in 24 hours, and then I would start drinking water after that for 2 or 3 days. So I would start the fast with like a 24-hour dry fast with an intense physical exertion, and then I would do 2 to 3 days of water fast, and then I would switch that to juice fast, and then I would integrate watermelon and things, and I would come back off the fast like that. So it'd be a total 5 to 7 day fast. And I mean, I felt great. Like I definitely, you know, that's not everybody has the physical fitness in order to even withstand a water fast at all for a few days. Some people have some issues with their kidneys and things, and they'll get, I forget what causes it, but they have to actually be a little bit more careful. I've always been kind of gung-ho. I've learned that you could, basically the reason why I started doing that was because it takes usually 2 to 3 days on a normal water fast to go into ketosis. And during that time, it's really kind of uncomfortable because you're starving for, you're basically starving for glycolysis, starving for glucose. And so that's that feeling where you get low energy and you don't feel so good and you feel brain foggy and stuff. It's because your body's running out of glycogen in the muscles, and I didn't really enjoy that. And so I was like, I'm just going to push it hard on a dry fast, and it would actually kick you into ketosis in a third of the time. So maybe a little bit more than you're asking.
I was also playing with dry fasting, and yeah, it's like 3,000 more potent than water fasting. Somebody told me, or I read that 1 day of dry fasting is like 3 days of water fasting.
I would say that's about right. Yeah, that's pretty much what I was getting out of it too. And kind of the main reason why we fast in general, like whether people know it or not, is to get into autophagy. autophagy, and that's where the body starts to compost the old cells and stuff like that. And dry fasting basically accelerates that, I'd say, by like, you know, a third of the time.
And that is great if you don't have a lot of time like you with five children.
Yeah, I found it a pretty efficient practice, and I would only do it at like twice a year, and it would align with the delivery of the
Okay.
mulch.
You said, Josh, that you train till failure. So what's your rest between rounds? Because if you do pull up till failure and then you do push-ups or maybe reverse, I think then you have to rest about 2-3 minutes at least.
Yeah, definitely. So first off, staggering the different exercises rather than just focusing on like a push-up day or a pull-up day, that already kind of reduces the amount of rest. But I basically, because you will get winded doing those sorts of exercises. And so the way that I like to do it is, first off, I focus on nasal breathing in order to increase oxygen utilization. It allows for some carbon dioxide to build up in the blood, and that creates a harder pull on the oxygen. So I'll do I'll do 20 pull-ups, and I'm feeling winded. I'm getting my body wants to gasp or something like that. So I'll stop. I'll breathe in through the nose. I'll actually do in my live workouts, I integrate the qigong into the workouts with the people. And so I'll stop, I'm standing there, I'm breathing in through the nose, I'm breathing into the belly, the hara, and I start to basically that's where it starts, breathing into the belly and then slowing the breath consciously, usually 1 to 2 minutes between exercises. And so then as the workout progresses, then we actually start to build a chi ball with the hands. And then it kind of basically, it builds each part of the qigong builds throughout the workout so that I'm not overwhelming everybody with all these exercises and this qigong and stuff. But naturally you have to take a breather. So it's a perfect opportunity to sit there, to be oriented in positive vision for yourself and energy cultivation. So we build a chi ball, and on the in breath, we're charging. On the out breath, we're compressing. And then we start to bring a smile onto the face. We get in touch with the energy of that smile, which is care and gratitude and these sorts of energies. Then we turn that smile inward to the body like a flashlight. And so as we're building this chi ball, we're turning an inward smile into every cell, and we're envisioning that basically trickling through the body and bathing all the cells and all the quarks within the cells. We're allowing that to really sink in. And so by the time you've done this inner smile, now we do the last breath, in breath, charge the ball with inner smile energy, charge that with loving, caring energy, compress it, breathe it into the hara. Then we breathe it in. Now we're ready for the next exercise. So then we go to push up or whatever it ends up being. The order's not all that important.
Nice. Josh, you probably know what the smile stands for. Huh?
What? Tell me.
Start my internal love engine.
There you go. Yeah, man.
There you go.
That's it. So that's what I mean. That's what I tell people. Like whenever we're doing the exercises, I tell people like the ability and the willingness to say yes powerfully to a challenging yet behavior that we know is health affirming and life affirming is so beneficial in so many ways. But one of the most powerful things about it is that it fortifies us to say yes and to stand powerfully and face the challenges that come unexpectedly. And so this is good for our family. This is good for ourselves. This is good for our communities. It's basically, an intention and a willingness to become better as a gift for everyone.
Can you take us through that 5 a.m. workout, kind of what you do? Is that all right?
Sure. Sure. So we start off, so we do a 5 a.m. work. We start at 5 a.m. That's about 3 p.m. Texas time. And I do a quick introduction for anybody who's new. I just tell them like, yeah, this is me. I'm plant-based 15 years, no protein supplements, no fitness supplements. I work out less than 2 hours a week, because I just want people to know like what we're doing, what I'm promoting. This is the potential end product of that. I'm actually the poster child for what I'm promoting here. And then we go into a warm-up, which is a dynamic movement warm-up, which is maybe 5 minutes of doing some twists, doing some side stretches, all aligned with the breath. I like dynamic movements aligned with the breath. Doing some dynamic front and back stretches, really to get the blood and moving into the joints and things, so we can make sure we don't injure ourselves, etc. And then we start with, it doesn't really matter the order, push-ups, pull-ups, squats. But I usually do push-ups, pull-ups, squats in that order. And so we'll do, the first set is a regular push-ups. We're going to push it to failure. And then I stand up. We do the, I'm introducing, we're going to do breathing through the nose as much as possible. We're going to now start to consciously slow our breath. We're going to get in touch with the belly breathing. We're actually breathing into this hara area. Then we're ready for pull-ups. A lot of people don't have pull-up bars, so I teach them how to do a different type of exercise, which is a mind muscle connection, where you grab a bar above your head and you squeeze it down, you squeeze the back muscles together. And then I also demonstrate doing my pull-ups, my front grip pull-ups. Then we go in, after that, we pushed to the failure point. Then we go into another breath work where we're regulating the breath again. Except for this time, we add in building the chi ball. And then after we've done that a little bit, breathe that into the belly. Then we go to squats. We start with jumping squats, meaning doing as many jumping squats as you can do with the form. I described the form and everything. You do that, do however many you can do. Take a few breaths, breathing through the nose, catch your breath a little bit, maybe like 5 breaths. And then you're going to continue with regular squats. You don't have to jump, and you're going to double the repetitions. So if you did 20 jumping squats, you're going to do 20 more squats. Then after that, we do another breath work, where we're basically regulating ourselves, breathing through the nose. We start to add in the inner smile. Then we go into the next round of push-ups, which is diamond push-ups. Now we're going to be focusing on the inner chest here. We're doing diamond push-ups, go to exhaustion, breath work. Now we're already going straight into, I'm just cueing everybody. We're regulating our breath, breathing into the hara. Sorry, my thing is. Sorry, just a low battery. I got distracted. So diamond push-up, you get the idea. In between every exercise, we're doing the same breath work, which is this energy ball cultivation, inner smile thing. Then we go from diamond push-ups, we go into the next pulling exercise, which is another type of exercise that we can do without a bar. And then if you have a bar, we do reverse grip chin-ups. Then the next one is what's called front-loaded squats. It's basically a squat that you do on your tippy toes with your knees pointed forward. It's very, very powerful joint stabilizing exercise, and really focuses a lot of the load on the quads. Then we go into pike push-ups, which is where you do a push-up where you're basically turn yourself into a down-facing dog, and you push up through the shoulders. And that's going to really focus the upper muscles here and the upper shoulders here, the front delts and everything. Then we go into side grip pull-ups, or another type of barless back exercise. And then we do jumping lunges. And then once we've done that, we do our final regulation, breath regulation. It's Qigong. We do the same Qigong until the breath is somewhat regulated. And then we do a final visualization where we basically hold the highest vision possible for ourselves in this ball that we've cultivated. So now we're holding ourselves. We're cultivating the vision for the version of ourselves that exists when we are efficient with our time, when we are disciplined with our emotions, when we are making the most health affirming decisions, when we're, etc. Basically the highest version of ourselves that's possible. We breathe into that. We get in touch with that. We revel in that for a few more breaths. We breathe that we charge it one more time. We compress it one more time. We breathe it into the hara. That's it. And then I just like give everybody a lot of gratitude and thanks, and because it's awesome saying yes and cultivating the energy together and being that life affirming energy together. And that's how we leave it. It's about 1 hour. It's a 1 hour call. It's about a 40-minute, and then we do a Q&A afterwards if anybody wants to ask some questions. But it's about a 40-minute workout, and that's can be compressed down even lower than that because I do a lot of talking, describing the different forms and things. But yeah, that's about it, man.
Yeah, thanks, Josh. And I want to add that the agreement we have between our two communities, like the people in our membership can join your trainings that are Friday morning in Bali, Thursday night in the US. So if people want to join, we started also. You can join already on this Thursday or Friday, depending where you are. I won't make it Josh this time because I'm actually interviewing together Ted, Shane, and Doug at that time. I needed to do early, but from next week I'll definitely join.
Yeah, totally, man. That sounds awesome. And I might actually move it to 6 a.m. It's been 5:30 right now, and it's a little too early for the United States because a lot of people are, it works a little better if it's closer to 4. And it might work a little bit better for some more people on this side of the world too, if it was a little bit later in the morning.
Okay, yeah, keep me posted. But it's awesome that we can join. And for me, I've added my yin yoga also, where your community can join. So that's really cool. We'll wrap it up to keep your time also. But yeah, I'll open like if there's last 1 or 2 questions, maybe.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Josh, you said 6 a.m. Bali time. 6 a.m.
Yeah.
Bali time. Okay.
Right now it's 5:30, but if it's helpful for, I want to make it as accessible to as many people as possible.
Cool.
And I have another question. So back in 2017, I used to be very active, and I was doing CrossFit, and I did a couple things during that year. I did something to my toe where I needed surgery, and then I partially tore my Achilles. So I was kind of out a year, and I was going through some hard times. And even though I was plant-based, I gained about 40 pounds in that year. So when I came to Bali, I made a determination to lose that weight, start exercising again, and gain muscle. Little did I know I'd become more of a fruitarian during that time. But one thing that has not gone away on me, perhaps it's my age because I'm almost 50, is those love handles. They're kind of going away, but they just don't want to go away. Do you know any techniques for that, or perhaps it's just continued diet? I don't know.
I think that the science around that is just if you stay in a slight caloric deficit for enough time, that your body will get around to it. And some places are just a little more stubborn than others. And so you either gotta cut the calories down a little bit, or you've got to increase the exercise a little bit. The nice thing is that you can increase the exercise and still get to enjoy the same amount of food that you're already enjoying, which obviously you're doing good because you look great, man. If you're almost 50, nice going. Congrats. And so that's the easy question of that. Like, and then the other aspect of that would be just focusing on some more of the core exercises for that area. And what that'll actually do is it'll build muscle from beneath that layer, and it'll actually kind of inflate it or something like that. It'll actually kind of build out to where that tightens. Does that make sense?
And by the way, it's interesting because while I was in Germany, I started doing almost everyday Pilates. So I've posted in a free group for FRUITFIT, like that channel, and she has hundreds of videos. So it's very middle-aged woman type of vibe, you know. It's like the American, like, yeah, let's work our booty together, you. But it's actually really nice because it really helps to strengthen the core and to target
Yeah.
maybe the middle muscles in the core. Yeah, so I've started doing that, and I've noticed the difference also doing that.
Yeah, Pilates is powerful, man. The beauty also of calisthenics is that every single calisthenics move that you can do is core strengthening. So I'll actually we'll do, I forgot to mention for that exercise, we'll finish with a core exercise, but another version of the workout is to do push-ups, pull-ups, squats, core. If you want to, like, especially like if people have a goal in my coaching program, if they want to see their abs by 45 days or whatever it ends up being, then I say, okay, well, let's do a little bit more focus on, we're going to add a core exercise for each one. That's going to build the abdominals from beneath that layer of fat. You're also going to inherently burn some more calories because you're adding an extra exercise in there. And just what happens is eventually the body fat, most of the people who I actually coach are coming from more of a conventional type of diet. And so they're naturally going to, once they get on the whole food diet, they naturally, most of them are having a hard time even reaching their caloric requirements just due to now they're finally for the first time seeing what it's like to get volumetrically full from fiber and water and actually being not eating an excess of calories, usually from processed foods and fat. And so they naturally start to shed the pounds pretty rapidly. And then as we're doing the calisthenics, the muscles are building from beneath, so that there's this moment where all of a sudden the fat ratio in the reveals the muscles underneath, and it's just like a pop. It's amazing.
And going back to the building, I didn't want to build in all cement, but it is pretty much all cement, and then we have tile for flooring. In order to get more of the earth energy, more of the earth electromagnetics, is there some things I can do in our house besides putting plants everywhere, that will kind of bring that in to the home?
Yeah. I mean, have you looked into like earthing gear? Like actually running copper wire. So like earthing is a big thing. Like it was a pretty fringe thing 10 years ago, but since then has actually gotten quite a lot of research that shows that whenever we have bare feet on moist soil, almost in like super luminously, our body fills with electrons. And so there's this incredible electron exchange. And so there's really something to the earthing, and it actually reduces inflammation. It creates, it allows for natural hydrogen creation in the body, which this hydrogen is then utilized for all kind of healing processes. It's pretty cool stuff. And so one practical thing to do is to set up some grounding areas in the house. I think like if you were going to be building from scratch, then you could actually implement copper wires into the actual floor, and this would allow for an ambient charge to exist in the floor system. So I always talk about things in regards to good, better, best. So now the best thing we can do at this point is probably send some copper wires into the ground, and then bring them up through a window or through a doorway or something. Create a mat. Say you have a mat where you do dishes, a mat for your bed, a mat for these different places where you're getting electron exchange without it being obnoxious and there being wires everywhere, etc. There's some pretty, and I actually am going to make an ebook pretty soon on how to create your own earthing mats and stuff in a way that's practical.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Josh. Thanks, Brandon and Zizi. for joining us, and thank you to everyone who listened to the replay. And Josh, I'll invite you to join our group on Telegram. If you go, I'll put the link in the description for people. It'd be nice to keep going with those amazing conversations.
Awesome. Yeah, man, I'd be honored. Yeah, it was amazing talking to you, ZZ, and also Brandon, man. Is it Brendan?
It's Brandon.
Brandon. Okay, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Brandon. Yeah, it's a pleasure talking with you guys.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you so much.
Alex.
It's
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
great
Yeah, Brandon.
conversation. I absolutely enjoyed it.
See you on the workout.
Okay, awesome, man. Sounds good.
Yeah.
This Friday, Bali time, 6 a.m.
It's this one set for 5:30 a.m.
5:30.
Bali time.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, and guys, I'll do the tomorrow. I'll do the Yin Yoga also with medicine music. So if you want to join that, it'll be.
What time's that?
I'll check now. It is 8:30 p.m.
On Thursday?
tomorrow, Wednesday.
Wednesday's tomorrow. Okay. Yeah. 8:30. Okay, I got to remember that.
Yeah, so Europe.
And just
can
to
make-
confirm, do y'all like 6 a.m. better? Just so I can start to lean into that. For the
I
next
like
week.
6 a.m. better.
Yeah. 5:30 is pretty
Yeah.
early. I understand.
Me too.
Okay, cool.
Well, just for ZZ, it gets a bit late, but
maybe I could go ahead and change. I think that wouldn't be that big a deal to shift it. I haven't actually made the official post. It more than anything, it's just about me making sure that I don't have to like be out the door at a certain time. That's more than anything. But I think that because I love you guys, I'm gonna do 6 a.m. this coming Friday. So we'll just go ahead and shift it, and we'll work everything around. Because yeah, I'd love to see you guys.
cool. Well, I told you, Josh, I can't make it, right? Because I do the podcast recording.
Right.
Right.
That's okay.
Okay. And for you, ZZ, 11 p.m. It's okay.
How? No, not 11. 6 a.m. Bali time, and this is. But I have to check what's the time here.
Well, I'll tell you,
Yeah.
it's 11 p.m.
11.
Oh, so it's opposite. You need earlier, and you need.
11 p.m. Okay.
That's a pretty intense wind down.
Okay, but I will force myself, okay, and I will be there. But
Okay,
Hey,
so
that sounds-
where will we get the link to? Is that going to be in the Telegram group?
Yeah,
I'll
I'll put
send
that
it.
in our Telegram group.
yeah,
Oh,
I'll send
great.
that to you right directly.
no,
and
normally
Josh-
I sleep at that time.
And Josh, you won't remember this, but I remember you because this was during the pandemic, I believe. You were at Soulshine swimming with your family, and I was swimming with you guys. I didn't talk to you, but I just remember you. We were the only ones there. And anyway, I kind of met you.
Hey,
really talk
awesome.
to
I
you,
was gonna
though.
say you look familiar, but I could not place for the life of me.
Yeah, actually, I have the link already because it's in your school community, Josh.
Oh, that's right.
Cool. Okay, guys. Mwah.
All right, thank you so
Take
much.
care.
See you very soon.
You guys.